Hey, I'm Tesla. I'm going to review how November went for me financially. I do these end of month closeouts because it's great to budget things out per paycheck, but as we all know, we can't predict the future and it's not always an exact science. So I just like to see how close or far off from reality I was from my plans. I use this spreadsheet from Etsy to do that, and the details are summarized here. For income, I am well over what I budgeted. I made $5,853.47, and that was $1,229 over. I usually am over what I budgeted in income because I don't really like to forecast, so I just go lower than what I think I'll actually get. But the reason there's such a big differentiator is because my grandma gifted me $200. And then if you've seen my other videos, you notice that I tend to lend money to people like on a regular basis every single month, and then they don't usually pay me back that same month. I use a tracking account to keep tabs of everything, um, but in total for November, I got paid back $1,046 in lending repayments. It doesn't show in YNAB because I automatically add it straight to my lending category, but I do have to add it here because that money gets moved around in my budget and it has to add up. For investing, I am right on track, 1,300. And I am actually over in sinking funds. I expected to be negative, but I managed to save $476.80. So the reason I thought I was going to be negative is because I thought it was going to be time to deplete my membership sinking fund, which is how I pay for my unlimited yearly yoga membership. But if I had paid by card, that would have been $975 because they issue a fee, like a card fee, a convenience fee. It feels good to actually save money because in Q4, my funds have at best been staying neutral. That was my dog. Or at worst, they've been going down. But in November, it finally went up. So I put it towards auto care, Chip's vet fund, medical care, and then I padded my memberships just in case I had to pay that extra 4% fee on top of the $910. And then I also had to pay for my Notion. And then I put it also towards major housing repairs. It needed 72.53 to finally finish off the goal, so I was excited to do that. For a debt repayment, I am highly over budget in credit card payments, but that's a good thing because it means I'm eliminating my debt. I had to go hard on it in November because I had to make up for my Vegas trip in October where I traveled across the country to see all my favorite bands, and then I left without seeing a single band. It was my first time taking off work for vacation, literally ever. Ever since I've entered the workforce, I have never taken a real vacation where I have intentionally taken off work in the middle of the year. I've never done that. And my first time ever, and it didn't work out, but it's fine. I put $1,037.41 towards my credit cards, which actually makes up about 16, maybe 17%. No, yeah, about 17% of my overall income in November. It's a pretty close second to investing because that was about 20.9% of my income, and then the savings was nearly 8%. And then the rest of the 55% of my income went towards my expenses. My biggest charge are always bills, but I was fortunate in November that I didn't even reach 1,400, and I tend to budget closer to 1,500. I do expect my bills to go up going forward into the winter because I'm a real baby when it comes to the cold, and I'm sure that heating is going to cost me extra. I spent $277.20 on groceries, and $45 of that went to an Every Plate food subscription. It comes with 3 meals, and I honestly only made one. I needed to feed myself the week before, but I forgot that my box actually arrives on Fridays. Normally that's fine because I make them on the weekend when I have time, and then I eat it over the weekend, and leftovers blend into Monday the next week through Friday whenever they last. But that weekend was the weekend I was really busy making cookies, decorating a gingerbread house. I was eating out. I saw a light show. And then by the time all that happened, I had no energy to cook. And then the week after that weekend, I had a large company event where I was just fed to the brim every single day. I freezed the meats, but I think the produce went bad. So I just need to work on timing next time because I am a little bit over budget. So I wasted food and money, which I didn't have to if I had just thought it through more. But that's okay. I'll just think it through more next time. I managed to be $50 under budget, which is really nice to only spend $235 basically, because in October, I remember I spent nearly $700 because of a parking ticket and tow and stuff. So glad it was a little bit under budget. It was nearly $24 under budget in personal care. I only spent $1.35, and that was because I bought something from Family Dollar, emergency toiletry items. This is TMI, but I was in the middle of a work day at a work lunch with my supervisors, and I swear my body doesn't run on a cycle. It just waits for the most awkward, inconvenient moment and then it strikes. So that's what that was. Otherwise, I could have been at zero. That would have been so cool. Okay, so home care, it looks like I definitely inflated my budget for home care, probably because I'm always dreaming about getting a professional cleaning. But I didn't do that in November. I only spent $214.63, which is still not a small amount. So, one thing, I finally bought that Street View camera that I've been talking about forever. And I was like in the middle of installing it, but it turns out, so I wanted it outdoors so I could get like a full street view and not just the front of my like doorbell area. But to install it outdoors, you have to actually like latch it onto something. And for it to be outdoors, it can't be like connected to a wire. And for it to be cordless, you need to set up some sort of base thing, which is a separate purchase that I didn't know about. So that was great. Now I have to research that and I have to buy another thing to get it set up. But at least I have the original item. I also bought an oil dispenser for cooking. I highly recommend because it's so much harder when you're just pouring oil from like a gallon container. So that's life changing. Otherwise, all the other expenses, I just ransacked Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Target for, ornaments and other Christmas stuff. If I weren't so lazy, I would insert pictures of my living room. Pet care was exactly on budget at nearly $22. Chip has his own ID chip, as most dogs do, and he's a part of the Home Again network, which, in case he gets lost, it alerts everyone in the network with his photo, his name, his owner information, stuff like that. Depending on where your dog's chip came from, don't forget to register the microchip. So, a lot of people get dogs from shelters and whatnot, and they may come with a chip, but if you don't know how to activate it and get yourself into whatever registry, it's not effective. Chip could still be registered to the shelter or even the previous owner, so that's just an FYI. If your dog likes to run out like mine and roam the streets, like just double check where that chip is registered to and make sure it has all the correct information. For dining out, I am under budget, which is always an incredible accomplishment for me because I love to stuff my face with processed crap. My family did not cook growing up. I would skip breakfast, I would get the free lunch at school, and then I would eat fast food for dinner. And on the weekends, I would just eat popcorn until my parents would wake up, and then they would feel like picking up a pizza. So, like, years later, it's really hard for me to break out of that habit. Like, honestly, I did not even attempt to eat a salad until literally this week in December. December 7th was the first time I have ever eaten a salad, and I ate it at work. And as a kid, I was never exposed to vegetables, and like also eating forkfuls of lettuce just like is not appealing. And I was right, it's like not great, but if nothing else, I can say I tried one new thing this year. It was salad with Caesar dressing. That was my new thing. For appearance, I budgeted 50 and I spent almost 160, so I'm about $110 over budget. I think it's because I needed new gloves or stuff for winter, but I definitely bought some other stuff on the fly. So, for example, I bought a fluffy robe from Target. Honestly, when it's just me around my house, I don't like to wear clothes. I just like to walk around in a robe and slippers, and my last one disappeared, so I replaced it with super soft pink one. The fuzziness is held up even after a couple of washes, so I'm glad that I got it. And there's also just something about like wearing a luxurious pink fluffy robe around the house. Like it makes you feel like a housewife who just murdered her rich husband. So $30 well spent. I also got my face threaded. That was $28. I also bought some slippers because my dog peed on my last ones and they were faux leather. So I don't really think you can just throw those in the washer. He's kind of a jerk sometimes, honestly. But I'm pretty sure that had cost like $22. And then the other stuff were things that I bought at the Texas Renaissance Festival. So I did finally get to go, but the weekend I went, it was 40 degrees and it was raining. And I had already pre bought the ticket. So I went to be a trooper, but it was rough. I went without any gloves. That was a mistake. My hands were in so much pain from the intense cold that I bought gloves at the fair, but anything at the fair is really expensive. So I spent $16 on gloves. And then I went to New Orleans like the next weekend and I actually lost that pair. So they're already gone. And then when I went, I had a poncho in my car, but I didn't have an umbrella, and neither did my friend, and they didn't have a poncho. So I bought them a poncho at the fair, and that was only like $5 or $6. But it was so cheap that it ripped through halfway. So they spent the last half of the trip just getting like soaking wet. I also bought a lot of chapsticks at the fair. There's a one shop that I really like, and I try to stock up there throughout the year because I think their products work really well. And then lastly, I bought something from Osea, or it might be pronounced OC, but I've been using them for years because they are sustainably sourced, sustainably packaged. They're women owned, they are American company, and they're also vegan. And their products tend to last me a long time and they seem to work for me, but they are really expensive. So I'm 25 and that's basically the new 30, and I decided to try their anti-aging products. And I bought the travel size ones just in case I don't like them or they don't really work for my skin. And that was well over $100 for maybe 5 travel size products. So I decided to do a payment plan, and that first installment was nearly $45 upfront. So I think it's 4 payment plans, so 45 times 4. Yeah, that's like $180 for 5 travel size products. And it's a lot, but the way I think about it is I've already normalized it in my brain to spend like $100 a year eating McDonald's. So it's like, why can't I commit a couple hundred to the skin that I'm going to have like until I'm dead? So it's just something I'm trying. It was my Christmas gift to myself. Moving on to fun money, it looks like I budgeted $500 for myself and I spent a little bit less, $48 under budget, for a total of $452.16. I believe I budgeted $250 for Renfest and I was under budget because of the weather. I didn't want to go on rides because the seats were wet and I didn't want the cold air whipping on my face. I didn't want to play games or throw axes because I didn't want to take my hands out of my pockets. I was so cold. I still ate a lot, but any cash that I brought with me, I just gave it away to the performers because a lot of the acts are hard enough to do on their own, but it's even trickier with the wind and the rain, and I'd just rather give it to them. I don't regret going, but for like perspective, there's like, okay, there's a battle at the end of the day. All the knights come together and they just start bashing on each other. They're wearing armor, but you can see someone take like an axe to the head. And they get beat while they're down until they leave the pit. Like, I don't know if you've seen that scene in Shrek, but it's kind of like that. And it was so cold that I couldn't even enjoy any of the senseless violence. So, definitely next year, I'm going to look at the weather ahead of time. The rest of the money I had budgeted, I think, because just in case I wanted to spend any money in New Orleans. My mom and sister and I did a Thanksgiving trip to New Orleans, but thankfully she ended up paying for everything. Even though I am under budget, that doesn't mean I didn't have any impulse purchases. I definitely did. Paramore tickets went on sale and I pounced. In 2023, I'm thinking that I need to have a concert sinking fund of at least $300 so I could just buy a ticket whenever I want to without just taking the risk of overspending and overextending myself. I bought a book for 29 freaking dollars. It was one book. It's called A Mouthful of Birds. It was at an independent bookshop in New Orleans. It was really cool, but I already have that book on hold in my local library. I just wanted to support a small business when I had the option to do so. And then all this Target stuff was like Christmas cookies and decorations and such. Did you know that you don't have to do gingerbread houses anymore? They have gingerbread tree houses now. You could have a whole code name Kids Next Door gingerbread operation. Like they really stepped it up. You could have ninja gingerbread people. I tried that though. It didn't work because I had to make my own gingerbread cookies and it was a failure. But my point is, like, you could really do anything you want with gingerbread now these days. For giving, I am about $49 over because I spent about $124, but I try to consider over giving like a positive thing. For lending, I spent 300, basically $390. One because I bought the second Paramore ticket and then the rest was the Renaissance Fair charges. I went with someone and we just decided to put most of it on my card because I get points and I don't pay interest, and then subscriptions are the usual. And then I also did some impulse purchases for Miscellaneous. So it looks like I had budgeted 63 and spent about 65, so about $2 over budget. There's someone on YouTube called Dividendology, and he has a Patreon, and I joined it for a month because I wanted to get a specific investment tracker sheet from him. I have several investment accounts, one could say too many holdings, and I use his sheets to get a bird's eye view of things. It's about $16 per month. I really only wanted one thing though, so I paid for 1 month, I got the one sheet, and then I canceled. And then Black Friday was also near the end of November. I finally got a pair of headphones. I keep losing any small earbuds I get, so I decided to go with the bulky, like wrap around the neck ones, so hopefully I won't lose those. That was about $49, but they're noise canceling, and the first day I got them, I was already enjoying them. My audiobook was playing upstairs on my phone while my phone was charging, and I was just walking around hearing my book as I cleaned and decorated, and it was great because normally I'm either carrying my phone right next to me and I'm only having one hand to clean, or my phone is nearby, but I can't hear my phone over the washer, dryer, dishwasher, vacuum. But this time, because of the noise canceling, all I heard was my book. So for the price, I mean, they're not perfect and they don't cancel everything completely, but for the price, I am happy with them. So that pretty much covers everything I spent. There were some impulse purchases, but it wasn't anything I regret because it either improved my life in some small way or it's for an experience later on. I'm not happy that I immediately lost the gloves that I just bought, but that's me. I'd lose my head if it weren't attached. I'd lose track of my budget if I didn't post it online, probably. But overall, I'd say November was pretty successful and not like a very stressful month, which was good because sometimes your budget is good on paper but not good in real life, or it's good in real life but not on paper. But this month was, I'd say, pretty evenly all right on both ends. So I hope your November went well as well. It's already December 11th, so you'll probably see me soon for my second November budgeting. All right, bye.